Hi everyone! As you see, we have a new platform that we're using for social distancing purposes. So this is what the show is going to look like this week and for the foreseeable future. We're trying our review show, and this week we're going to be talking about military wives. So Kelly, if you want to jump into your thoughts, go right ahead.
Yeah, Phoebe. Well, first, thank you for figuring out a way for us to continue this despite the current situation. I really miss doing this, and so I'm excited that we get to do it again.
Me
Um,
too.
but so my impression of military wives. Really, I I was very pleasantly surprised. I watched the trailer. I thought it was going to be maybe a little cheesy, a little chick flicky, a little too schmaltzy sweet. That's the impression I got from the trailer. So I kind of went into it being really skeptical and like, this kind of fare isn't my favorite. I'm in this for the art house films, right? Like Waves and Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Like those are my jam. So I really went into it with this skeptical, like, oh, this is just not my cup of tea.
Totally.
And I ended up just really enjoying it. I
Yeah.
felt like it was a really relevant film for right now. I mean, they're not going through what we're going through, obviously, because this was shot way before all of this happened. But my feeling was kind of there are these people in a really difficult situation trying to make the most of it and trying to find joy despite it. And so I think for me, that was what really powerfully resonated the most for me was just this like, what do you do when you're going through a tough situation? You just keep going and you plow ahead and you figure out how to make it work. Um,
Right.
and I really
Right.
liked that. And I liked the joy that they found. And I liked, um, yeah, the sisterhood that gets created through the course of the film. And, and even I think the feud between the two main characters is maybe a little overdone at times, but even then it just made it that much sweeter when, you know, you
When they
finally, the
finally
depth of
come together.
everything that they're going through is kind of brought out in this one mega fight near the end. And then it's really beautiful. So I thought that was,
Yeah.
for me, I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. Kristen Scott Thomas is wonderful, always.
Yeah.
And I liked a lot of the more minor characters too, were just
Oh my gosh,
beautiful
yeah.
and three-dimensional. And I think that's what I liked the most too, was like nobody was a flat character where they're this one-dimensional like archetype or stereotype or anything. Like
Right.
everybody was really
Even
complicated.
even their husbands had more to them than they even needed to have. Like they were still very complex and rounded characters, and I really liked that.
Yeah, and I thought it
And
did a beautiful job honoring the real people that these were based on, really. Like, I
yeah.
mean, you watch so many movies and you're like, I wonder how the real folks felt about that. Like, ugh. And this one really felt like, it was both exposing their strengths and their weaknesses and their, you know, the good spots and the not so great spot. I just thought it was a really beautiful film, and they were all very real people, which I enjoyed.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt very similarly going into it. I was thinking I wasn't really going to enjoy it because it definitely struck me as, definitely cheesy, kind of the type of movie that, well, I don't have any really life connections to many people in the military in the first place, so it wasn't something that I expected that I was going to connect with on such a like extreme level, and I ended up spending like the second half of the movie in tears. And I wasn't expecting that it was going to be so emotional for me too. And I think what really struck me about it was very different in the sense that I don't think I've ever seen a movie from the perspective of people who are left at home during conflict. Usually when you see something that's military or war related, it's the mental anguish that the soldiers go through and the physical aspect of that. Whereas this movie was really focused on the mental anguish of the people who are left behind. And that was really beautiful. And I thought they did a really, really great job of showing people just trying to deal with this in a just like trying to live their day-to-day lives, but also like the sides of it that are just heart-wrenching, and you felt the anxiety with them when they would get a call that they knew sounded like it probably wasn't good news, or somebody showed up and they were like, whoa, heart-stopping moment. Even if there wasn't any news, or if it was something that wasn't necessarily bad news, it was still like you felt for them in that moment.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
yeah, I
Like a
thought that was
3 a.m.
great.
call is the height of drama, really. Like, yeah, no, and
Yeah.
that's what I liked about it. I mean, unlike you, I have a few friends who are military wives, and so that was the other thing I think that was off-putting for me about the trailer was it looked like the schmaltzy sweet, like, look, they're carrying on for their husbands, and I'm just like,
Right.
that's not real life. That's not what I've seen my friends go through, and so to me too, that was a big part of it for me, was watching it. I saw my friends in the film who are military wives and who have gone through tours in Afghanistan and Iraq and all of that. And so, to me, it was nice to see that reality. Like I said, there were no
Right.
one-dimensional characters. Everybody was complex and had all these things going on. And I really enjoyed that. And like you said,
Right.
I spent the latter half like vacillating between tears of joy and sadness. Like it was,
Right.
I spent a good amount of this in tears, but like really, but like, really, it was really beautiful. It was beautiful tears, and a lot of the joy at the end.
You mentioned the kind of the feud between the two main characters, which is kind of how we're introduced to this world of them living on the base, and they're both trying to come to this conclusion on how to help the women just get through this time without going totally insane. And I really liked their feud at the beginning. I do think it added a level of drama to it that in the end really exposed just like how two humans are going to be able to deal with tragedy in very, very different ways, and then end up, well, I'm not going to say how it ends
Yeah.
up, but
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I was going to say, I love the kind of subplot of the relationship with the daughter.
yeah,
And
yeah,
how
that
she
was
is
really
like,
interesting.
she's kind of the sullen teenager going out drinking, like, I'm not going to listen to you kind of attitude. And that, like, you know, as the two main characters start moving closer, and Kristen Scott Thomas's character starts to take on a mothering role, and how it heals her, it heals the relationship between mother and daughter, and some that was a really beautiful, and I don't want to give too much away, but
Right.
it was a really lovely subplot that was a subplot through most of it, and then you get to the end and you're just like, oh, that's so lovely. Like,
So for the last part of this review, let's talk about what you would rate this movie out of 5 stars.
sure. I think I'd probably give it 3.5 to 4 out of 5. It still had a lot of schmaltz. There were still some things that I thought were a little slow, or a little, they could have been improved. So I think it wasn't a perfect film, but what is. So yeah, but I would just say it was really lovely. It really resonated with me. Like I said, I have friends who are military wives, and the characters felt real to me based on my friends who have been through this. Um, and I would also say, like, I think I'm giving it an extra star just for timeliness. It just felt like it came. I know they weren't planning for this, but they're releasing it May 22nd. We're 2 months into this pandemic, stay at home, whole new reality that we're all going through, and I think this just has a beautiful message of like how you persevere, and how you find joy in the things that are hard. And so I think it gets like an extra half a star from me for just for being released right now, and being something that I really needed to see right now.
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, because this isn't the type of movie I would have gone out and sought out, I definitely would give it an extra star for that. So I would go. I'm still fluctuating between like 3.5 and 4, because I think that extra star is just for like bringing me into this world that I was not expecting to have any connection to whatsoever, and finding it really just very rewarding. So yeah, I'd probably give it somewhere between those two. But overall, I think this is a movie that is totally worth seeing, and especially just if you're interested in being emotional and letting some of those, pent up emotions that have built up during quarantine out. So something I kind of forgot to mention, but you mentioned Portrait of a Lady on Fire earlier, and I did want to say that I thought it was really interesting that this was completely different kind of movie, but this was something where we talked about how in that one it was almost like there was just this like absence of men, but with men being kind of the reason that these women are in this situation. And this kind of felt like the modern equivalent of that in a way.
Totally.
So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, I actually thought about Portrait of a Lady on Fire a lot listening or watching this movie, because it also felt like, wow, these are really three-dimensional women, and you just don't get to see that a lot. And so I really appreciated that about this film.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much, Kelly, for trying this out with me. Hopefully, this video doesn't turn out too all over the place. We had a couple technical difficulties, so
We will do better next time.
yes, we'll have way more preparation, hopefully. So, thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah.